There's a special delight that every consumer knows when they go into a store and walk away with a deal. The moment you realize you're paying a little bit less than maybe what you were expecting. Maybe it's 15% off of your favorite boots or favorite shoes. Maybe it's buy one, get the other one half off. Or maybe it's hitting the jackpot, buy one and you get the other thing free. You know, here, especially at Christmas time, these sorts of deals tend to attract people. They tend to get us into a storefront. We love a bargain. We love getting more value than what we pay for. Discounts are a part of everyday life, and especially a part of this season. And they bring a thrill when we're able to spot them and take advantage of them. But as great as these discounts are, I would offer that they belong in stores alone. They do not belong in our justice system. The practice of treating serious crimes like they are items on sale is not just misguided, but it's altogether dangerous, it's unjust, and it's completely detached from the experience of victims who will never receive a discount on the trauma that they experience and live with. Unfortunately, in our current justice system, discounts are handed out far too often in criminal sentencing. One of the biggest and most troubling discounts granted under Canadian law is concurrent sentencing. In other words, it offers an offender the opportunity to serve multiple sentences under one. Instead of facing real consequences for each act of harm, they serve all sentences at the same time. One sentence, multiple crimes, equals drastically reduced jail time. And if this logic were applied anywhere else in life, I think we would be outraged. We'd call it absurd. But in Canada's courts, somehow it is common practice. And even more troubling is that this discount is applied to some of the most egregious crimes, including mass murder or serial sexual assault. And today, I will focus on the latter, to do with my private member's bill. Sexual assault crimes are not minor offenses. They are not mistakes. These are acts that rob individuals of their dignity, their agency, and their sense of safety and well-being. They can alter the course of a person's life, not just for a few weeks or a few months, but forever. Yet the perpetrators of such deeply violating crimes often walk away with sentences that fail to reflect the severity of the harm they've caused. Concurrent sentencing should never be allowed for such crime, which is why I'm proud to address this issue and stand with victims by presenting my private member's bill, C-246, the Ending Sentences Reductions for Sexual Predators Act. This bill is simple, it's direct, and it's necessary. It mandates consecutive sentencing, not concurrent sentencing, for those convicted of sexual offenses. In plain terms, no more bundling crimes into one low-price package, no more sentencing discounts. Sexual predators will no longer be able to compress their crimes and walk away with a reduced amount of time in jail. Instead, each crime will carry its own penalty, and each victim will receive the full recognition that she or he deserves. Under this law, every victim counts, not just as in a moral or symbolic sense, but really counts. Their voice counts. What happened to them counts. The crime committed against them matters and should be paid for. Currently, Canada does not allow for consecutive sentences in these types of cases. It does, however, allow for them when it's to do with children. And while that protection for children is absolutely right and necessary, the logic behind that allowance equally applies to adult victims. Consider this, if you will, just for a moment. In Canada, the maximum sentence for a break-in or a violent robbery is life in prison. Life. That's the maximum sentence. But the maximum penalty for sexual violence against an adult is only 10 years. And it's 14 years when that victim is under the age of 16. We have to sit with this comparison for a moment. A property crime, a robbery, carries a higher maximum sentence than the violent theft of a person's bodily autonomy. A home can be repaired, a stolen phone can be replaced, but restoring a person's dignity, restoring a person's sense of security, their trust in the world, those wounds are far deeper and take far more to heal. Therefore, the penalty should also be far more. The fact that our justice system punishes property crimes more severely than sexual offenses is not just inconsistent, but I would say it's altogether an injustice to those that face these types of crimes. For far too long, the scales have been tipped in favor of the criminal, the offender, while victims are left struggling, having to pull the pieces together and find healing for the egregious crimes committed against them. Years of soft-on-crime policies have left communities less safe and victims increasingly vulnerable. Since 2015, sexual assaults in Canada are up nearly 75%. Offences against children are up an alarming 120%. And these aren't just abstract percentages. These aren't mere data points for academic purposes. These are numbers representing real people with real stories, lives forever changed. Each statistic represents betrayal and fear and lifelong consequences that impact generally not only the victim, but his or her family, friends, community. In Toronto, a family doctor was charged with 9 counts of sexual assault and 4 counts of sexual exploitation involving 3 patients over a period of time. These patients walked into his clinic expecting care and compassion and professionalism from this individual, and instead they were preyed upon by someone in whom they placed trust. They left not with healing, but with deep wounds, not having been cared for, but having been exploited. And what was the sentence for this physician who committed more than a dozen intrusive and grave crimes? 3.5 years. 3.5 years. 13 heinous crimes, 1 sentence, because all of them were enmeshed into one. Think about the societal message that is delivered. What message is sent to other victims who are terrified to come forward? It tells them that their suffering will be compressed, that their voice doesn't matter. What message is sent to other potential offenders? Well, it tells them that even if you hurt multiple people, commit multiple crimes, the system will protect them. It will have their back. And what message does it send regarding the societal value that we place on making sure that people are kept safe in the most vulnerable spaces, such as the medical office they enter into? It suggests that even profound violations committed under the guise of care are somehow eligible for a discount. And it reaffirms to victims that the justice system does not stand with them, but rather on the side of the perpetrator. Kashif Ramzan, he pretended to be a talent agent, attracting young people into the modeling industry. 2 young women were lured in, and they faced horror instead of opportunity. They were both sexually assaulted numerous times over. At the end of the day, Ramzan pleaded guilty and did not refute any of the accusations that were brought against him. The sentence he faced, 18 months for the one, 2 years for the other. But in this country, 18 months plus 24 months equals 24 months, because it's multiple sentences combined into one being served. And again, we must ask, what message does this send to society? What message is sent to young women who are already navigating a world where exploitation all too often hides behind charm and flattery and supposed opportunity? It tells them that if they are victimized, the system doesn't have their back. It tells them that their dreams can be weaponized against them, that they can be exploited, and it's not as big of a deal if it's more than one of them. It tells the public, especially these young women, that predators may face only a fraction of the punishment their crimes deserve. Meanwhile, they are expected to sort through the pieces of their own brokenness. This is the opposite of justice. It is the opposite of deterrence. It is the opposite of what a healthy society should signal about the seriousness of sexual violence. When the system merges multiple victims into a single punishment, it erases the individuality of their suffering, the weight of each of their experiences. It tells victims implicitly, if not explicitly, that their pain is worth less. That the law sees them not as unique human beings deserving of justice, but as tally marks on a spreadsheet. Whether a predator commits repeated offenses against one person or single offenses against multiple people, justice demands that each of those crimes be paid for. Sentences must be served consecutively, not concurrently. This reflects the extent of the harm done. Anything less is a betrayal of victims. Colleagues, it is long past time to put victims first. Sexual offenses should never be treated like a 2-for-1 deal at the shoe store checkout. There is no buy one assault, get one free, but that is what our current justice system does. There is no bulk discount on human suffering, but that is what our courts reward. Each offense is, in fact, a distinct harm. Each victim is a whole person, and each act must carry with it its own consequences. Justice is not something to be discounted or bundled. Justice demands full recognition and full accountability for every crime and every victim. My bill, Bill C-246, is about restoring that balance. It's about ensuring that the law stands firmly on the side of victims, not with predators. It's about making sure that when a sexual offender is sentenced, the punishment truly reflects the crime. It's about restoring faith in our justice system for survivors who have so often been let down. And it's about sending a clear message to society that sexual violence is serious, that it will not be tolerated, that every victim matters, and that predators will face real, meaningful consequences. So my appeal to those in this place, to my colleagues from all parties, I would ask that you support this bill, that you stand on the side of victims, that together we stand for a strong, robust justice system, a system that refuses to minimize the most violating crimes a person can endure, that we would be a group of people that instead stands for what is right. I'm asking you to support this bill, and let us send a united message from the House of Commons that we stand with the innocent, that we stand with the victims, that we stand with the survivors, and that sexual predators will, in fact, face the full force of the law. There cannot be the continued practice of discounts for sexual predators. Please stand with victims.